Commence primary ignition.
Hey, this is Katie O'Brien, and you're watching the Virtual Cantina Network.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
And welcome to the show.
Hello
Hi, everyone.
there.
Happy
Happy Pride.
Yeah, happy Pride 2025. I'm Mark Von Olin. I'm the programming director here at the VCN, and I'm joined today by two very special friends of mine to talk about the state of LGBTQ representation in Star Wars in the past year, and it's going to be quite the show. We have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Hi,
It's
Ashlee.
so
Hi,
nice.
Mike.
Hi,
Welcome.
Mark.
Hi.
I'm
It's
Mike.
a very healthy state, I think. Very good state of pride in Star Wars. I'm happy to say.
For sure.
I'm Obi Mike from Jedi Archives.
I'm Ashlee. I co-host Clone Wars Revisited with Mark, and I also co-host Daughters of the Galaxy.
Alternating Wednesdays on the network.
That's right.
And Clone Wars is every Monday. Jedi Archives is every other Sunday. And in fact, it is the 5th Sunday of the month in June, the way it worked out, which gives us the perfect slot to do our Pride show and talk about everything that's happened in the past year or so. It's been quite a bit of good stuff, like Mike was saying. So we actually have quite the agenda. We're going to talk about Andor. We're going to talk about The Acolyte. We're going to talk about Skeleton Crew. And we're even going to get into the High Republic with our High Republic expert over here with Mike, because he reads all the books and all the comics. His whole the Jedi Archive show is about the comics and the books, so they are well versed in that. And we're even going to talk a little bit about Young Jedi Adventures. So there's no shortage of content for this year's special, which is very exciting.
I'm excited.
So let's jump in with what I think is the most obvious and probably I would say the biggest deal in Star Wars right now. One of the most recent live action project from Lucasfilm was Andor Season 2, critically acclaimed, weirdly print, incredible writing. I mean, Andor Season 1 was fantastic, and I think people were really excited about. Yeah. Like in a way that like people who don't like Star Wars like Andor, and people who love Star Wars also love Andor. And the topics they cover are really heavy. It's really grounded. There's no lightsabers. There's very little space battles. It's all about like everyday people fighting fascism and like not doing a great job at it sometimes, and seeing the real workings of like a bad government and bad people doing bad things, good people doing bad things, bad people trying to change things, and good people doing their best to not do the worst. It is a complicated show, and in this mix of amazing characters,
it's kind of like
very prominent who just kind of were in season 1. We assumed they were a couple in season 1, but we got confirmation in season 2.
We did. It was, having Vel and Cinta be together. Like obviously, you can see like they're on this mission. They are like, oh, they're sharing a blanket, if you know what I mean. If you want to quote Steez, but he's and season 2, you can see the depth of how much they care about each other, and how Cinta's well-being is worried about by Vel every day, and it's it's probably one of the hardest storylines to like. It ends tragically. If in spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Andor yet, it ends tragically for Cinta, but they reconnect after some time apart and an injury by Cinta, and yeah, it probably was one of the most heartbreaking things I've seen in this show this season, and there was a lot.
Yeah. And also I think it also underscores the reality of queer love, that it is a difficult story even for gays and lesbians and bisexuals and transgenders today, that it isn't easy to have queer love and transgender love, that it is difficult. And just like Valencinta, there's a lot of heartbreak and pain, and we have difficulty. And so it's very
Hmm.
realistic in that sense. And so
Yeah,
I really
they were up
enjoyed that.
against. The, yeah, I mean, not a lot of people are having kids in the Star Wars, right? Like, no one's in a very stable relationship. Even the married people seem like relatively unhappy, and they're certainly not procreating. So, love in a time of Star Wars is really challenging. And then to be queer on top of it, where it seems like for their own self preservation, they weren't telling a lot of people. Like, and I don't know if there was this implied homophobia, but you have to assume in Star Wars that, like, there's all this there's othering, right? Like there's all of this xenophobia, and people don't like people from different planets. So despite the fact that it's an incredibly diverse world, there's still lots of prejudices, and you'd have to assume that homophobia would be one of them, even if it's not explicitly stated.
Right.
And you know, they're on the outskirts too. Like they're not in Coruscant, the big city. They're in like places where maybe they don't even know what a Jedi is. You know, because
Right.
what, there's one per planet on average, right? Like it's a incredibly diverse, progressively steaming world, except you're under the boot of fascism, fighting for freedom, and also trying to hold on to a girlfriend and not get shot in the crossfire, right? Like that's terrible.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, I have a cat on me right now. He is. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna pan down a little bit so you can see the kitty. He had to jump up because
Hi.
he knew it was his time to shine. Mr.
Yeah.
Hicks. I know.
Hi,
Look at you.
Yancy. He's so cute.
He's being
Well,
adorable.
I've got a
Yeah.
cat on me
He
too.
knew the camera was on. Ashley.
A
What do you
love cat.
got? That's the right answer.
Mine keeps
I
running
loved
away.
everything about Vel and Cinta, and I remember when we first saw Vel. You know, this is Mon Mothma's cousin. Uh, she had a scene with Mon Mothma, and I literally forgot that Mon Mothma had like a husband and a child, and I was like, is she a lesbian? I got like lesbian vibes from season one, just from them standing in the hallway together. And so my gaydar like picked up on that, and it turns out the cousin is a lesbian, not Mon Mothma. But of course, Mon Mothma's got that cool haircut, and she's just a bad bitch, right? So
Right.
you know, you sort of interpret and interpolate, but it turns out Vel was a lesbian, has a girlfriend. It didn't go really well, and then they finally reconnected, and like many gay love stories, queer love stories, tragedy ensued. It
Mhm.
pisses me off because we could have killed anyone in this show. Anyone. Everyone was up for being killed, and we did. We killed a lot of people in Andor, which was great. But like we had to kill like the lesbian of color. Could we have at
Yeah.
least spared her? Like we have so little representation.
I know.
Killed another white guy. I know, I know that sounds terrible, but like there's plenty of them to go around. Like we have one lesbian of color. Can we have let her live, please?
I know. And it's again with the fridging. Like if you read comics, you get what I mean. Like
Yeah.
always the female love interest, the one who's most important is killed to push the story forward. And
Hmm.
it kind of allows Vel
It's
to go all in to the rebellion as well and
yeah,
kind of stay focused on it. But again, it's kind of a cop out to me. So I don't
yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Well, there's two tropes. There's the fridging, and then there's bury your gaze. So bury your gaze was really big television in 60s, 70s, and 80s, really like a very special guest character who was LGBTQ or queer or something. And especially at the AIDS epidemic, it was like, and here's your gay friend from high school you played football with. He has AIDS now. And then they're dead by the end of the episode or the movie or whatever it is, but they were there to like teach a lesson to like the heterosexual main character. And this felt a little bit like that. It was the kind of thing where I was like really annoyed for days. And then at the same time, I was like, we have two really important members of the rebellion, and Vel lives on with Mon Mothma and whoever else, like to continue the rebellion moving forward as like a really important person in the rebellion. And she's not even really defined by her sexuality. Like she just is, and
Yeah.
she's like awesome at what
Mhm.
she does, and everyone kind of loves her. And I was like, you know what? That goes a long way too. So I'm happy for that representation. I just wish she had gotten like a full happily ever after, but literally no one does. Like Mon Mothma lost her husband and her kid. Everyone lost something for the rebellion. Like people lost whole planets, whole families. So um, Andor is kind of bleak and kind of too real, but also a little bit hopeful. And so we got a mix with that. It was a mixed bag with these ladies.
Mhm. The other thing too is that I think writers don't really know what to do with gay and lesbian characters or LGBTQ, so they just kind of like they just kill them off. Like, what do we do with them? I don't know. Let's just kill off their partners because we don't know what to do with them in real life. So
Like the same thing you would do with the straight couples.
Yeah.
Like it just, I don't understand the block there. Like
yeah,
Mhm.
the only thing they have to
I
face is like
It is
I
tricky because
discrimination.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree, but they just don't get it. They think that we're not like regular people.
It's
So
not a novelty. It's real life, man.
yeah, I will say it is tricky because if you don't have someone queer in the writer's room, I've definitely seen queer um, couples on TV that they basically treat like a husband and wife. It's not exactly right. Like it's not quite that black and white, and
Mm,
it just feels a little bit tropey. Like I actually think Modern Family did it really well, capture the nuances of being like dads and being part of a bigger blended family and everything like pretty well. But also Jesse Tyler Ferguson is actually gay, and my understanding had some
yeah.
input on like what went into those, and they were like
mhm.
gay people in the writers' room. Look, I'm sure women felt this way for however many years in sitcoms. Like the trope of like the nagging wife is not the wife. It's like a husband who doesn't listen, and the wife is going to kill this man because he doesn't listen. Like that, you know what I mean? Like every group that doesn't have a seat at the table is subject to the whims of the people who are at the table. And so for a long time it was women and people of color, and now there's queer people creating our own stories. In fact, my favorite show right now, I'm going to keep coming back to it. I've been pumping it since I've been watching, is Overcompensating. It is my gay pick of the year, and it's probably my favorite TV show of the entire year. You got to watch
So where can we find it?
Prime Video.
Yeah.
Prime Video. Everyone has Amazon Prime, so Prime is free, right? Go watch Overcompensating with Benito Skinner. It is all about him being a closet case in college, and it is hysterical and hilarious, and just really, it hits really close to home because I was that closeted kid in college, at least at the start, anyway. And yeah, it's I think a great way to celebrate Pride is to watch queer media made by queer people.
And speaking of queer media made by queer people, we are going to delve into The Acolyte.
Mm, hmm I'm so before we close out, before we jump into Acolyte, Andor season 2,
Yep.
overall, huge thumbs up. Huge step forward for Disney with represent. We actually didn't get a sex scene, but we got a love scene. The ladies were kissing, and it was not a cutaway throw kiss like in Rise of Skywalker, where they were like, we can edit that out for China because it's 3 seconds. This was like a full on love story, and the turn off the light thing. So I was like, oh, they're going there. Like they're actually, this is really nice because they would do that with a man and a woman. I mean, we saw Cassian get down with Bix several times, including we actually talked about this before the show.
The
Cassian's best
season one.
disguise was when he was pretending to be the fashion guy,
Yes,
and he was he
that
was
was funny.
he was he was very pretty.
Valerian
So
Sky.
yeah, loved it.
By the way, you
But
can
yeah,
buy those
overall,
sunglasses. They're not cheap, but you can buy them.
that would be an amazing cosplay.
It
Yeah,
would.
if,
You
if
pull it
some
off.
guy dressed like that as like doing Cassian as that character, like rolled up at me on a con, I would fold instantly. Like that's yeah, that's so my type. All right, great. So yeah, yay for Andor. That's really fantastic representation there. Super excited by it. Don't love the bury the trope, the bury the gays trope, but otherwise, like I hope to tell in a thing going forward, right? Like there should be
Yeah.
more stories from this time period, considering how well Andor did. So I think that would be great to see more of her. All right, let's tilt over to Acolyte. So Ashlee, get us started because we got more ladies in here.
So in The Acolyte, we find out that our two main characters, Osha and May, are raised in a coven of space witches. Not quite Dathomirian, but they do have their own witchy coven, and they have Mother Anastasia and Mother, oh my God, Mother
Coral.
Corin,
Mother Coral.
Coral,
Coral.
who are instrumental in being the primary caregivers to these twins, and introducing them into the coven, and helping develop their powers going forward. But they're also, you get to see a little bit about, like, you know raising children as part of a queer couple in this. So the representation, I thought was pretty good. You have like the helicopter mom, and then the cool mom who just kind of was like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. And I thought that was really kind of cool to see. You see how far Coral's willing to go to protect her daughters, and what Anastasia is willing to give up in order for her daughter to be happy. So
That
when they come,
tension was interesting because they have
yeah,
different parenting styles. And I
right,
think that goes to an interesting place because we've only recently started seeing just like generally queer representation on television. And now we have queer parents. And so for a long time, we've watched moms and dads argue about how to raise their kids. And you would think like, oh, two moms raising their kids, they should be on the same page. They have the same struggles like mom and dads do, right? Like, what is the proper way? Like, what's the best way that we're going to make sure that our kids are safe and taken care of and loved and appreciated? And they don't have all the answers. The same way that like
yeah.
any heterosexual couple doesn't have all the answers.
Even though they're witches, they
Yeah,
still can't figure it out.
they got all the power in the world, still can't figure out how to raise a kid. And isn't that like the great story, right? We've got all this magic, and it's still impossible to raise children, especially in this particular galaxy.
Exactly.
And then even though
I,
Mother Anisea does end up not quite so well in that series, Mother Coral does live on because in this month she does feature prominently in one of the covers of Pride. And I did
oh,
want to show her
yeah,
cover if we can share.
I want to show those. So let me fix this overlay real quick so we can get to the sharing. So let's remove this, and we're going to add to stage our comics. So thank you for bringing these, Mike. So Mike's our
Yeah.
resident comic and book, our literature guru, and knows the High Republic inside and out. So I want you to
And
take us through all of these covers.
yeah, so in this month, of course, it's Pride Month, and Pride Month has the variant covers for Pride, and this is one of the Pride Month covers, and it features Mother Coral. So Mother Coral does live. We weren't sure at the end of the Acolyte, but we see
Hmm.
her here, so we know she does live, and you can see she's quite beautiful,
Yeah,
stunning
she's
here,
gorgeous.
and
Played by Margarita.
yeah, and
That
this
is
is
so
the
cool.
yeah. So we'll see more of her in the future. So hopefully more stories.
Very nice.
And other covers for this month's Pride are
Yeah, it keeps going through.
this is Cantum Psi, Jedi from the High Republic. But I don't want to jump out of uh the Acolyte just yet,
Well,
but just little previews. Cantum Psi, High Republic.
yeah, show us the stack, and then we'll come back to Acolyte, and then we'll talk more in depth about the rest of the High Republic because you have quite a number of the boys live in the comics, and the ladies are living on screen, is what we've noticed.
And these are all the High Republic covers. And well the Pride variant covers.
Hmm. So this was Sabe.
Yeah, Sabe.
Yeah.
And then here's uh, Rue, also from the High Republic.
Hmm.
And here we have, also from the High Republic, a couple, which is Kair Santeca and Xylan Graf.
And
Fancy
people
boys.
might recognize that last name, Santeca. If you've seen The Force Awakens, the opening scene where Poe Dameron is like flying out to meet the old man, that's Lor Santeca. He's the one who refers to Princess Leia as she'll always be royalty to me. So this is, you
Right.
said, one of his ancestors?
Yes, and so the way that the way that they got their wealth was from the paths, and they got their paths from uh, in the High Republic. They're the ones that discovered all the paths to. They didn't know all the paths to the outer regions, so they discovered them. Uh, the Santecas discovered those, and but he did not. He used his family's wealth to find boyfriends.
He's a player.
We all
Yeah,
know that guy.
and then
Yeah.
here's Sinjir Vathrilis.
Oh, I
Love
love
him.
him. Oh, it's my
Yeah,
other husband. I have
I'll
several,
share.
many.
I'll share them with you.
Yeah. He looks
So
like a Han Solo, Cassian Andor. Um, yeah, that douchey
yeah, he's
goatee.
all
That
of
would have
those. He's
been,
all of those.
this would have been my vibe in college.
So he's the one that left the Empire. He was part of the Empire at the end of Episode 6,
Okay.
and he left the Empire at the end of Episode 6 on the planet on Endor and joined the rebels. Uh, and he's in that trilogy of books that is the first canon of Disney.
hmm
And
So
he's
post Return of the Jedi, but within the Journey of the Force Awakens time period stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I love that stack of books because when I was a licensee back in 2014, 2015, when we were getting ready for the movie, back when it was still just episode 7, when they finally announced The Force Awakens as the name and then create grand journey to The Force Awakens, we were an integral part of that. Like we had a card set leading up to it. We were keeping tabs on all of the publishing going on. Like it was a big deal because we had to bring in people who hadn't maybe engaged with Star Wars since the last movie, right? Like which would have been like in the
right,
80s. Or I'm sorry, the sequels. It would have been 2003 for Revenge of the Sith. But like chronologically, the most recent movie in that time period would have been 83 with Return of the Jedi. So there was like a really big gap both in real time and then in the time period between 6 and 7 that they were going to try to fill in and set up this world, remind people what is Star
right,
Wars, right? Can you imagine a time period where we had to remind people what Star Wars was? Like it
right,
seems so insane to say out loud now that Disney's had this brand for over 10 years and we're like constantly in it. Like there's no shortage of content.
right, right. So I loved it because these books it introduced a queer character
Mhm.
prominently, and so I read those
Yeah.
books and I loved it. And Disney didn't back down. They're like, yeah, this is a. And the first book came out, and they're like, yeah, he's gay, and people were there was a lot of controversy, and they stood by him, and he was prominent in all 3 books, and so I was really proud of that, and really happy to have him. So I love this character. I just wish he'd come out more in like a TV show or cartoon series or something, but we have him in the
Mhm.
books, so that's good.
Yeah.
And,
Um,
and
well, we are getting more on-screen representation, which is great because I feel like the
we
books
sure
and the
are.
comics are always like kind of a safer place to have a
Mhm.
queer character because you don't have to see anything, right? Like it's the kind of
Hmm.
thing where if people are uncomfortable by it, they can kind of read past or not care as much, right? Like it's a safer place to, test the waters. Like you can watch Andor season 2 and in theory skip that episode with the ladies if you were really like that kind of
Right,
person, but like
right.
Bella's integral to the plot. Like you kind of, she's not quite Clea, but she's certainly important. So, by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
Clea, I'm a lesbian for Clea. I announced that last week
Oh
on Clone
yeah.
Wars. I'm no longer a gay man. I'm 100% a lesbian for Clea, and I don't know if she's a lesbian or not, but like Clea, uh, maybe my favorite character in all of the rebellion now. She like rose to the one spot real quick. So whatever her sexual orientation is, just know that I am attracted to it.
But
Ditto.
I love that she had kind of in a shocking turn of events, she had Vel to kind of help her see the good in what her
Yeah,
and Luthen had built in Yavin.
yeah.
So
I love that. I love too that like yes, Vel's a lesbian, but she's not hitting on Clea. Like she's just being a kind, loving person. And I think
right,
that queer people can come from a place of empathy. Like I see it a lot of
exactly.
times with my straight guy friends where like I can have the emotional intelligence to have this conversation because I've dealt with so much of this other stuff, right? And I think like Cleo benefited from Vel's perspective on all of
Yeah.
this. And
Right.
yeah, in a perfect world, Clea might also find love, and so would Vel, like later down the line, maybe with each other, maybe not. But like, they both deserve like a happy ending of some type down the road. Once we blow up a second Death Star, like, can they just enjoy life, like, on
Really?
Chandrilla? But actually, can we hang on Andor for one more second? I know we're doing a
Yeah.
lot of Andor.
That's
The
fine.
only thing I really wanted, and I know that it's really cheesy, I needed to see Mon Mothma, like post episode 6 after Operation Cinder, when Mas Amedda surrenders the Empire to Mon Mothma on Chandrilla under the tree. Like,
Mhm.
I really wanted to see that in live action, and I felt like that would have been considered really cheesy the more I thought about it. But don't care. I want it myself. So I'm selfish and I want it. So hopefully we'll get to see that in live action at some point. Because Mon Mothma also deserves her flowers for like winning the day, you know?
Yeah, for
And
real.
also I would just love to see Mas Amedda again. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's such a
Okay.
jerk.
And
So
last one is
what other
Afra. Afra's the
Afra?
last
Oh my
Bugger.
God, yes. Possibly the face of queer representation in Star Wars for the past 5 years. Yeah,
Absolutely.
she's been that
Yeah.
bitch, right?
She
Like, it's
is.
been
Yeah.
her.
She is. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to see
Without
her
a
in at
doubt.
least a cartoon or something. How is she not in the Bad Batch? Like, that makes me crazy.
That was
Like,
shocking to me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really
She's
felt like she could have been.
yeah.
she's
And
everything. She's Han Solo, Indiana Jones, all rolled
mhm.
into one. Yeah.
Yeah, she's also really complicated. She's not exactly a good guy, and she's not a bad guy either. She's just out for herself. She's like really selfish and really self-involved, and I don't
But I
care. I love
love
her
her.
anyway.
I love
Yeah,
her.
exactly, exactly.
I love her.
She's so toxic, and we are obsessed with this lady. Isn't that like the definition of like a terrible gay icon, though? It's like
Yeah.
you line up these and it's like the worst women in the world. And it's like, oh, we stand, we stand. So yeah. No, she's amazing. We love Dr. Afra. I would love to see her in another form of media. Not to discount books and comics, but I feel like there is a subset of Star Wars fans, myself included. I don't keep up very well, where it's all about movies, television, cartoons, comics, books, like those. That's sort of the flow of like importance in the fandom and the broadest reach. So if we can get her in something like a live action TV show, like she would have made perfect sense in Skeleton Crew, you
Oh
know?
my gosh, yes.
Well, yeah, I was kind of
Yeah.
hoping that would happen, but
Yeah. All right, let's pull this down so we can get back to our big layout. Let's see how
Yes.
this does. Oh, look at that. All right, let's get back to this and then back to this. It's a lot of pushing of the buttons.
we're working
All right,
around the rainbow here.
so I love this overlay, but oh man, do we not fit in the pictures. All right, so Acolyte. We've got, I think, aside from having legitimately two moms, the fact that it's like so women fronted and so outside as a story, like it's so queer, right? Like these
Mhm.
women don't believe in the Force the same way that the rest of the galaxy believes in the Force in theory, right? Like they call it something different. They practice it differently. They're sort of considered dark side. The Jedi show up and are like literally like, you can't behave like this, and they're like, you don't have any jurisdiction here. Like it's very colonialism. It felt very misogynistic, and then the reviews were even worse. But like the idea that like this very queer story exists is like kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? That even ties in with what in the I'm reading the High Republic, and it ties in with what how in the High Republic they go back to how um they talk about how the Force was misinterpreted, that it didn't necessarily have to be just the light side. They
Mhm.
go into the past, how the Force was really balanced, right? Because they go into the past in the High Republic. I don't want to give any spoilers,
Oh,
but
you
they
can
talk about how
spoil.
the origin of it, how it really is like if you think about a river, I'll give this analogy. A
Hmm.
river doesn't have a dark side or a light side of a river. It just is a river. And so a
Hmm.
river can give life, but a river can also kill, right?
Mm,
But you wouldn't say that a river is good or evil. It just is a river.
just
Hmm.
is.
Yeah,
And the
nature
same way that a
is.
river is just
Yeah.
is, the force just is. But for the Jedi to think that a river can be the light side only and only like the light side and negate the dark side, um, that's the way that the Jedi took it. And
Hmm.
so for them to take just that one aspect of it and negate all the other part was not really the right thing to do in terms of how they're interpreting it. Because in the High Republic, in that one part where they go into the past, because there's one part in I don't want to get into it too much, but they go into the past and see that, and Yes, it's interesting because the coven is just another way of seeing the Force, and they were met with so much hate and vitriol that it just seems. And then the fans and the attack that the the public had on that too matched that energy, and it was
Of
interesting because it
course it did.
also matches the way that even within the universe, it's the same thing. So
hmm
it was very interesting if you think about that, because really it
People
shouldn't
are
be. It's just yeah.
people are very black and white and
Mhm.
need to have things explained to them simply. And I read an article recently where they said you have to remember that like 50% of America is basically functionally illiterate. Like they read at a fifth grade level. And that was horrifying because like, I'm not saying I'm super smart, but I went to college and I have a degree. Like, so there's a different comprehension level, right, of the way we're interpreting media. And if you know that, you're like, okay, we do have to speak in the simplest terms. And so something really complicated, like the Jedi are not just good, that makes people's minds explode because they're like, Jedi good, Sith bad. Like it's so obvious and
It's
clear, but there's so
right.
much gray
Mhm.
area and so much for interpretation, which is why you guys have to tune into the unifying force. Geo and Kat and Dave dive into this stuff weekly and get into the deep philosophy and the complicated things and the things that also contradict each other. Like I have a lot of problems with the Jedi Order. I think they're a hot mess. And when we talk about Clone Wars, like we get into it. Like I'm in a fist fight with Yoda. Like he is. I think he is like the villain of the prequel trilogy is Yoda. Like
Man,
I've got nothing but punches for Yoda. Um, so I
you
know
want
that's a
hot you
hot
want
take,
hot
right?
mess you want hot mess Jedi? Go to the High
hmm
Republic. You got some real
Oh,
hot mess
sure.
Jedi.
You know why? Because it was a peaceful time and they were able to be like the worst of their worst because like there were no stakes. Like who were they
Yeah,
fighting? There's no one. Which actually comes back
yeah,
to the Acolyte. Like that time
yeah,
Yeah.
period, they're pretty
yeah,
corrupt. And like the
yeah.
Senate is trying to oversee them and they're like, that's not
Yes.
happening. And I was like, yeah, you're hiding this big problem. Also, there were no villains in the Acolyte other than one villain. And he like wiped the
Mhm.
floor with them. So
Yeah.
imagine if there was a real threat, how incapable they would be sitting in their ivory towers with their philosophy and their books and their nonsense and not doing anything useful and like missing the threat, right? Because they're too busy focused on other shit that doesn't matter. Like because they're chasing down those girls, they're trying to kidnap those children from those like women that they have no jurisdiction over for some dogma
Yeah.
around their cult of religion. Like, and we can get into a whole thing about that, like, and how like the fight there is like queer people versus religion. Like, wasn't that the point of that episode? It's been the story
Mhm.
throughout all major religions on this planet, and the persecution of queer people. And they played that out in a Star Wars. And so that's the kind of thing I give them a lot of credit for. Like, as
Yeah.
much as that show wasn't perfect and had some things that, like, I didn't love about it, those themes I thought were really powerful.
Mhm.
Agreed. Honestly, the amount of hubris, and this is going back to The Last Jedi too, and um, Luke Skywalker explains it. The Jedi lost themselves in the hubris, thinking they were the
hmm
greatest things in the world, and it's something that they have done now with the High
Multiple
Republic
times.
and now in the modern era
hmm
that has led to the rise in the Empire of the First Order. So it's the reason why those things keep popping up is because they constantly think they're the greatest things in the world.
hmm
Mhm.
Happened during the High Republic period, the prequel time period, and then
Mhm.
Luke had it happen to himself, even though he was aware
Right.
of it. Look,
Hmm.
power is dangerous. Whoever's wielding it, it's very easy to accidentally fall
Mhm.
into that rabbit hole, fall down that rabbit hole, and make the same mistakes. And one of the things Star Wars TV does repeat itself, and like it lazily repeats itself with the same stupid nonsense over again. We see it playing out in America, I think, right now. Like the playbook feels very 80s and panic, right? Like that kind of stuff. They did it in Star Wars. So when people are like, what do you mean that the First Order is just the Empire reformed and instead of Nazis, they're neo-Nazis? That's not believable. And I was like, everyone needs to look outside and tell me how not believable it is. It's like
Yeah.
too real.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, Acolyte. Final thoughts on Acolyte. I think as a show is a little bit of a mixed bag. For queer representation, I thought it was fucking cool. It was very
Yeah.
queer, very weird, very different. Uh, they set up a great stakes of like this is our autonomy of being a queer culture, and then here's this outside force, the Jedi, coming in with all sorts of problems who made it worse. And I think that story is one worthy of being told. And I loved all the women who were involved. I want to go hang out with those witches.
Right.
I want to join their coven. I want to be their one male friend. I'd be like, can I be like the gay who hangs on? Just like, I don't even need any magic powers. I just want to hover.
Yes, and I think the origin of the Sith and the Acolyte was great,
Hmm.
and a connection of that Sith does show up in the High Republic as well, because it
Okay.
shows in the High Republic they show uh it shows the master, the origin of the master of the one who's going to train the one who shows up in the Acolyte. So
Oh my God. Only Star Wars could build that thread and have people
I
care.
know.
Like it's
Yeah.
really, yeah. All right. Moving on to Skeleton Crew. So I will say before we jump into Skeleton Crew, I did not expect this. It was a kid show. I didn't expect there to be any queer representation. But oh man, 3 for 3 on the live action series from Disney,
Skeleton
right?
Crew?
Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, and/or season 2 all have
Yes.
lesbians. The lesbians are everywhere. They have taken over in the best possible. So in Skeleton Crew, KB, who's played by the amazing Kiriana Crater, who was at our event in Japan, her 2 moms on the show, Mari and Gary, are lesbians, and she has 2 moms, and it's never even mentioned of it being weird or anything. It's just like, oh, she just has 2 moms. There we go.
It just is. Yeah.
Just is. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was very cool.
And I love how they're both like as doting and as caring as they are because of KB's disabilities. Like anybody, if their child was as sick and as we learn, broken as KB,
Mhm.
they would be extra worried and extra protective of her. So for her to go out on this big adventure and her mom's just to do everything they can to find her, it's like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. And yeah, they're not like blaming each other. They're working together. And I think that's one stereotype that we don't, thankfully, we don't see in this. It's like, oh, well, it's your fault. If you had just done this. No, they push that aside. I don't know what they do in private, but when they're on screen with the rest of the parents, they work together. Like, we have to find her. She's not well.
Mhm.
And there's no blame. There's no accusations. It's shown in a very healthy manner. And no wonder KB is as strong as she is because she has women like this in her life.
Yeah, and it just shows all the love that they both have for their daughter. So
Mm-hmm.
I really loved it a lot too. And it was no big deal. And like Mark was saying earlier, we even forgot about them being in the show because it was like no big deal. We didn't even think
Yeah.
about like, hey, wait a minute, Skeleton Crew. She had 2 moms. We didn't even
Yeah.
think about it
I
because it was
wrote
like,
up my list. Yeah, I wrote up my list of what I remembered, and I was like, okay, we're obviously going to talk extensively about Andor, and then we have the moms and Acolyte, and then I was going through the rest of the shows, because by the way, I also want to mention Crosshair as a honorable mention, and then I was like, oh yeah, and we also had Skeleton Crew, and I was like, oh my god, there were lesbians in Skeleton Crew, fully forgot, which I think is kind of the point. Like, I think at some point, like a show like this, or not a show like this, but a special like this, where we're talking queer representation in Star Wars, won't be as necessary because it'll just be like baked into the fabric of Star Wars. And it
Right.
seems like, at least on the literature side, you're starting to see that. Like the Pride covers are very cool. But it's not like those characters were just plucked from obscurity and dropped onto covers randomly. They've been in stories for the past
Yeah.
year or longer. And I recognized everyone on there except for those 2 very fabulous
oh
boys who
yes.
you were talking, like, because I'm way behind High Republic, but otherwise I was like, I know who Dr. Afra is, I know who Sabe is, like I know these people, so it's cool that like they're
Senastaros.
just there as part. Yeah, they're just part of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fabric of Star Wars. You know, we talk about Daughters of the Galaxy. You know, we've got a show on the network where we specifically talk about the female
Daughters of the
characters and how.
Galaxy.
Yep, there
Yeah.
you go.
Thanks, Mike.
Love it. We wouldn't have been able to do that show 10 years ago because we would have
Mm.
talked about Leia and Padme and then said goodbye.
That's it.
And now,
Mon Mothma.
yeah,
That's
Oh,
it.
Mon Mothma.
yeah, yeah, basically. And we
And
were
the
talking about how
Handmaid's.
in the original trilogy, there's 7 women total. And then in the Ahsoka TV show, there are 7 women leads. Like that's
Yeah.
the scope of difference, right? From the entire original trilogy had 7 women in it. And now
Right.
Ahsoka has that many women who get individual title cards. Like that's how far we've come. So I'm waiting for like we've got some amazing gays out in Andor right there getting their title cards. Same thing in Acolyte. And supporting players in Skeleton Crew. there'll be a movie where maybe Oscar Isaac's character could have been gay, right? And maybe they, Poe Dameron in A Different Life, or is at least bi. He feels pan to me, like he doesn't really say no.
No, I don't think he's pan. I definitely think that Lando is, but
Lando is, yeah. We're that's
Sure.
confirmed.
Well,
Yeah.
in the book, Poe and Finn were kind of like flirting together in the
Mhm.
book, but
The
in the film,
novelization for Rise of
yes,
Skywalker. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
And here's the thing. I've actually come back to this before, and I want to reiterate my stance on Poe and Finn. I would have loved for them to have been canonically queer. They didn't pull that trigger. So that being said, we have to assume they're both heterosexual characters, right? Or at the very least, they're
Mhm.
friends. So I think there are two things can be true. I really wanted them to be gay, and I think having a great positive gay love story on screen would have been lovely for Star Wars. We really needed that. They're both also heterosexual actors, right? So like mixed feelings on all of that. But at the same time, if they're not going to be gay, I'm glad that as male friends in a huge um, sci-fi fantasy series, we're getting good emotional connection of men loving each other and taking care of
Mhm.
each other in a way that isn't often displayed. Like weirdly enough, I
Yeah.
think like the Fast and the Furious does it the best. Like it's all about family. Those boys love each other, like full
Yeah.
stop, right? As ridiculously like no homo that it seems like when they would never say that, but like if it's so masculine, but they also like care about
Healthy,
each other so
yes.
deeply, right?
Mhm.
Like it's very that I'm glad we have a good heterosexual bromance love story of two friends that can have emotional depth with each other, and they don't have to be gay. They could just be very good friends and care about each other. I think that's important too. I think
Sure.
more than ever now as they start
Agreed,
falling into like
agreed,
the alt-right pipeline, you know. Yeah,
And it's
agreed,
not like
agreed.
one of those,
but
oh
maybe
no,
we'll
it's gonna
see
turn
Poe
me
Dameron a later
gay.
time.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not like, oh, it's gonna turn me gay if I watch this. Like that
Yeah,
horrible big thing that they keep saying. But
Agreed, agreed.
it's very, very healthy in the way they show it, and very
yeah,
true. Like this is it. This
and
is
I think
people's real lives.
our women characters, both in real life women and then the women we see on screen in a lot of these series, get to have that emotional depth with each other where there isn't like a
Mhm.
sexual tension component. Like no one's watching two women comfort each other on screen. Yes, right. But if two hurting each
Right.
other, like, well, they must be gay, right? Like that tension doesn't quite exist the same way.
Yeah,
But I think we're
that's
moving past it too. Like I think we're seeing a progression in the culture where like, you see athletes on screen who might be crying because they lost a game or something, and their teammate is giving them a hug or holding them or something, and no one's
Mm.
like laughing at them. It's gotten better. I think the Olympics that past year, where like, Daly's like knitting in between his dives and stuff. Like people are taking care of their mental health. Like there's a shift in the culture that's happening that way where like people are, emotional intelligence is on the rise. um,
thankfully. I think we kind of need it right
Yeah.
now.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so final thoughts on Skeleton Crew. Um, what did we think? I love that show. I thought it was
Loved it.
fun. I
Loved
thought it was
it.
silly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you have merch from Skeleton
Yay.
Crew.
Yeah. Where did you
It's so
find that?
ridiculous.
Well,
Tell us
this
about
is
that.
from Captain EO.
Oh, it is.
This is from
Oh,
Captain EO. This is way old.
Oh my
I did not realize.
god.
I thought they literally brought that thing back for Skeleton Crew as like a
No, there is no Skeleton Crew merch. This
I
is
was gonna
Captain
say there's
EO.
no merch for that
Other
show.
than that
Yeah.
shirt that Mark
This is,
brought back for me from
yeah,
England.
this
That's
is
Yeah.
vintage. This is vintage, guys. Vintage
Vintage. Oh
Captain
shit.
wow.
EO.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
All
because
right,
I love
well,
that they had a lot of Captain EO stuff in that. So I brought this out from my
That's
closet.
so
that's
cute.
amazing. Well,
I
Oh my
loved it.
all right.
It was
Ashley,
great.
what did you think of Skeleton Crew?
Honestly, I think it was one of the best representations, like as you said earlier, for Modern Family of queer parenting, and
Mhm,
not the comedic like oh about it, but
Yeah.
honest and true. Like these people who have experience with their disabled daughter, or the daughter that has life-threatening injuries that she's
mhm,
kind of working around, um, and about keeping her safe, and the worry and the concern that they have for not only their daughter but all of these kids, and they've kind of bonded with all of the kids' parents, um, and it just makes them like part of it shows them being part of a community, and teaming
mhm,
up to get their child back, and I think it's one of the best representations of queer parenting that we have, not only in
mhm.
Star Wars but in television. So
Absolutely. And they were checking her life monitor uh, on her wrist,
hmm
and that was a cool. It had a lot of good connections to other shows.
Mhm.
That was, of course, from Caravan of Courage,
Yes,
which
Ewok Adventure.
love it because I'm really good friends with Mace, Tawani from Caravan of Courage, and I always said that we don't know that he actually died because we didn't see his body. We only saw
Mm.
that his monitor went out, like KB's monitor went out, but she
Oh,
didn't die, so there's hope that he didn't die. So that's like a
yeah,
little
just
nod
saying.
that he
oh, I
might
love that.
Mace lives, Mace 20 lives. So I'm gonna make a little hashtag
Mace,
Mace lives.
Mace
So
lives.
Mace lives. It's
You
for
ain't
both
dead yet.
Mace Tawani and Mace Swindu. So, hashtag Mace
I, I,
Tawani, Mace lives.
I love that.
Yeah, but
That's great.
I thought it was great. They showed a lot of love for their daughter, and
Yep.
they're just loving parents. And
Yeah.
no matter your orientation, uh, love is love. And I
Mhm.
think this show exemplified that. And the fact that we forgot about them being
We
on the
literally
show,
forgot.
it just shows that it's just
And that's
everything
the
normal.
point.
That's the
Um,
point,
I like
exactly.
to joke that like no one's gonna forget I'm gay. I think I'm pretty obviously gay, but I forget what I said recently, and they're like, "Oh, right, you have a husband," and I'm thinking, "There's no one who thinks I have a wife. I promise."
Same here.
But yeah, it's the kind of thing where I think that is becoming less of a thing. So, yeah, I love for this was like men our age who grew up with shows like that from the Amblin age, the Amblin golden age, right, of like Goonies and everything else, and then
Right.
legitimately children. And they have the four leads of the show are the kids, right? So for them to just like
Right.
have gay moms like mixed in, along with a single dad, I think another single mom, and then the alien family. There wasn't one like heterosexual married couple that was like seemingly earthling looking in the show, like at least in the main
Oh, there
leads, right?
wasn't.
Like
You're right,
the
there
four
wasn't.
kids had like very
You're
different
right.
like blended families. Yeah.
You're
Um,
right.
and the single dad I thought was great. Like I think he handled things as best he could, and I felt for that man. I was like, I don't know what I would have done in this situation.
Oh,
Like this is
Wendell.
terrible. Yeah. Like he's like, I have to work. Why are you such a pain in the ass? That would be me as a dad.
Here,
Yeah,
have
I'd
more
be a
money. Have
terrible
more
dad.
money.
Exactly. Oh my God,
Have
I'd
more
be paying my
money.
kid off with everything. It's like, have all this stupid money and go do something. Get out of my hair. Like I would have been that kid. I would have been that kid and that dad. Like that would have been my parenting style. I'm gonna pay you to go away. That's why I don't have kids. All right. Live action representation. Boom, boom, boom. 3 for 3. Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, and/or the lesbians have taken over, and we love it. We are here for it. Even the ones who aren't
Absolutely.
actually lesbians, like Clea, we love her too. All right. Let's talk about. Like you wanted to talk about Young Jedi Adventures, which brings us to other lesbian moms.
Oh yes, lesbian moms. Let me bring over. Here I have Nash
Nash.
Durango.
She's my
Nash.
favorite. That'd be an easy cosplayer for me.
You should be
She
Nash
looks like you,
Durango.
Ashley.
Yeah,
Look, she looks like
she
She's
does
you.
look
so
like
cute.
you.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love Nash. So
she's
Nash, of
fun.
course, she's a
She's like a part
pilot.
of my name.
Yeah, so she's of course Nash Durango is from the award-winning preschool programming from Disney. Has won so many awards for preschoolers, and I love it. I watched the show. I've seen all the episodes. I think it's a really cool, great show for kids. It's introducing the
Cute. It's
youngest
really cute.
audience to Star Wars, and they're really great, quick episodes. And it's got Yoda, of course, because Yoda's everywhere.
Eternal.
Yeah, and
My
but Nash
nemesis.
she has two moms, and her moms are Chris Durango and Celie Durango, and there's like no big deal. She talks about her two moms all the time, and they come out and they're just like KB's moms. No big deal. They just mention it. She talks about them. They're very caring, very loving, and they let their daughter pilot these ships through these shipping lanes on her own, and she's just a preschooler. So
So there.
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is these are irresponsible parents. So
Should we go there? Yeah, like I don't know. Either that or they just know that they can't stop her and she's gonna do it anyway.
they trust their daughter and they know she's very capable. So they empower their daughter
yeah,
to do
That's
what she's able to do. So yeah.
I've heard nothing. I've watched a few episodes, but I've heard nothing but great things about Young Jedi Adventures across the board. I know Jamie is obsessed with the show, and her daughter
yes.
Sabine loves it. Numerous people on the network, including men our age, watch this cartoon meant for preschoolers and find something in it like that
Also,
resonates with them.
Nubs.
Yeah, no,
Oh my
Bradley
gosh.
Baker. Get your
Oh my God.
plushie, Mike. Get your plushie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's during the High Republic era too. And I took a picture. I met Nubs when I was in Japan. I took a picture with Nubs. He's so cute.
Yeah.
I would have cried. So Nubs is voiced by the great D. Bradley Baker,
Yes, the one
of
and only.
course.
The one and
And
only. Yeah.
Yeah.
like if
I
you don't,
need him
if,
to sign something as Nubs.
Nubs. He's the best. He's so cute.
really,
But
really.
yeah, the show is great. I love it. And it's during the High Republic era too, so that's great. And
Mhm.
they go to Starlight Beacon
Oh.
before it blows up. Yeah. So
Oh,
Yeah.
there are
okay.
some episodes there, yeah. But they leave. They don't stay there. They leave. So
Get them
they
off the beacon.
yeah, they
Yeah, what
survive.
are these lesbians doing? Letting the daughter fly, going to the place that gets blown up? Good Lord.
But they leave.
Okay. They seem like loving, caring parents, which is the point. And I
Yeah.
think for any preschool show, isn't the point of that show like it's a very diverse cast, right? We have like one of the young boys is black. We have a girl who's a pilot, which you might assume maybe the girls aren't the pilots, right? So it's the kind of thing where if you teach little kids early that like we've got a nice diverse cast, including Nubs, who's an alien, right? And even though he could be like big and scary, because you know that his species is going to grow into something like taller and wider than Chewbacca, right? He's like horrifying as an adult, that species. Like he's
Oh,
not
yeah.
to be, you shouldn't be afraid of Nubs. Like he's just part of your
Mhm.
friend group the way that anyone else would be. So, and we've got Yoda, and there's like a white girl too that's not the pilot, a white girl Jedi. Am I imagining her? There's a few Jedi in the mix.
Oh, the adults, yes.
Mhm.
But there's no adult toys, only the kid
Yeah,
toys.
the
Yeah,
kids.
so the
Makes
children.
sense.
I have the
Cool.
children. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only the children come as the little figures. So I have the children figures. The only other figure is this one.
Hmm.
Let me get the other ones. Of course, I have all the toys.
Yeah.
Reach over
I
here.
love some merch.
So, of course, there's Yoda.
Yoda.
But
It looks like
there's
Baby Yoda in that picture.
there's this alien.
Oh, the blue one. Yeah.
Yeah, she's cool. And there's this villain.
Ooh, he's got a very familiar helmet.
I know. I thought he was at first. I thought he was one of the villains from the High Republic because he has a mask, but he's not. He's actually. It turns out he's one of the. He's a son of the royal family, but he's trying to like. He doesn't like his royal family because they don't have faith in him. But there's a redemption story in there for him too. So there's always redemption.
You get a
in Star
redemption.
Wars. Yeah, you get a redemption.
We all get a redemption. Yeah. That's been
So
a
it's
running
just-
gag on here too.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course, everyone gets a redemption.
Yep. So the Young Jedi Adventures you said is set in the High Republic, and I know we already
Yes.
looked at a bunch of the comic covers, but I want you to dive us into the actual storylines with some of the queer characters in the High Republic, because I feel like that's actually where a lot of the depth really lives. So while we like saw lesbian moms and Skeleton Crew, obviously supporting players, you have some real leads in the High Republic and like characters who have like really long story arcs and everything, including you said you have a boyfriend that you thought was gay, turned out he was, met the
Oh
author.
my gosh.
Tell us everything about that.
So the High Republic, well, we've been doing deep dives into the comics for in Jedi Archives. We've been doing all the reviews of the comics as they've come out for the High Republic and High Republic Adventures with my two buddies, Bryce and Jonathan. And if you go to our shows, you can see all our reviews. They've been really great for the 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which have now come to an end. We're about to finish off the last few reviews within the next few weeks. It'll be all over. But yeah, there is the lead in the comics, which is Vildar Mack. And Vildar Mack is a Jedi. He's an alien species, and he's kind of an interesting Jedi master because he's kind of had like he's a daddy Jedi. All right. He's like a real buff, real handsome, and he's come back and he's kind of conflicted. He's not really sure, but he does go to Jeddah, and he's on Jeddah, and he meets there with another Jedi, Maddie, and they're supposed to do something together, and he's not really sure what he's gonna do. But he meets another a will, and this will, guardian of the wills, his name is Tay Sarek, but he's kind of like a disgraced will. He's been kicked out of the order of the wills, and he's kind of like a thief. and he's an alien. He's a Sephi, and Cephis are kind of like a rabbit species because he's got like pointy ears. And this Sephi, Vildar catches him trying to steal something, and they end up trying to be like a Vildar is chasing him, and they end up being like a antagonist. It turns out that Vildar and Tesseract, which is the Sephi's name, have this whole storyline where they're antagonists. Well, it turns out that they end up being a couple.
Hmm.
So Tesseract and Vildar Mac, because I sense this tension from the beginning, like, you know what? Because Tesseract is kind of like a thin, handsome looking dude, right? He looks like James Bond, but he looks like you know which James Bond? It's the one that I like the least. The thin James Bond, the one that was what's his name?
Not Sean Connery. Timothy
Not Sean
Dalton.
Connery. Timothy Dalton. He looks like
Yeah.
Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, not my
And
favorite
he looks
either.
like Timothy Dalton. Yeah, he's my least favorite. So he looks like, but he is handsome. So he looks like Timothy Dalton, but he's kind of like a pink color. He's like lavender, and
Mhm.
he's lavender skin,
Which is a
pointy ears.
clue.
Yes, lavender, of course.
Mhm.
So that was a big
It's a clue.
Very clue, right? And he's coated, and he's like always like getting away, and he's sneaky, and so Vilder's always chasing him, getting away, and at the very end, he's always teasing him. He just like Vildar gets him. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, he's all scared, and Vildar just plants a big kiss on him. Like, and I tell the guys, "I told you guys, I told you there was tension."
We
And they're
can
like,
see
"What?"
this stuff sometimes way ahead of time. Like
I
I
knew it.
remember even when I was watching The Force Awakens and Finn had Poe's jacket, and it was the kind of thing where
Yes.
he's like, "Oh, it looks good on you," and I'm like, "What in the gay hell
And
is
he,
happening
wait,
right now?"
he bites his lower lip. He bites his
Oh
lower
my
lip,
god.
and he tells
Mm,
him, he's all,
yeah.
"That looks good on you.
Yeah.
Keep it."
I'm out of the game for a while, so I don't know how to bite my lip in a sexy way. But yeah,
Mhm.
he very much. I was like, I caught that. Did every other homosexual in the theater see that? Because the straight men probably didn't. They were like, "Oh, how nice of him. He's lending him his jacket." And I'm like, are they? Is there something going on?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, oh, they're awfully attached right
Mhm.
now. I don't know if it's like, he got me out of here and I got him out of there. It's just kind of the bond was there. So
I do want to share this one image though, if I can. Let me see. Hold on.
Oh, do we have a picture? Yeah.
Let me. Oh shoot! I should have presented this.
You want me to add this to the stage?
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Though. Present.
I'm gonna hide this. Yeah, so there seems to be some real depth of story in the High Republic comics and everything. Certainly more so than what we're seeing on screen for the most part. Vel and Cinta did get a nice long arc. But okay, so Vildar and Tay, and there are powerful now, is what you're saying, Mike. They have continuing stories throughout.
Yes. Is this? Can we share that one? Let me see.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get the. There we go. Okay. Oh, look
There
at that.
they
And this
are.
is on.
Yes.
Is this on the StarWars.com site?
This is in Star Wars Newsnet, but it's in the comic.
Mhm.
So this is Vildar and Tay when they're kissing.
Oh,
And
good for them.
this is in the comics, but you can see here he's like, there's Vildar. He's like, he catches them, but then he's like,
Mhm.
you can see when he finally kisses him, like, oh my gosh, I knew it.
Yeah.
And I tell the guys, like, I told you guys, and they just
Yep.
couldn't believe
Every
it.
now and
Like,
then we're correct.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Who else
Mhm.
in the High Republic do we have on the LGBTQ front?
Oh, there's a whole bunch. So let me stop sharing. We can stop sharing now.
Okay, I'll remove this. Back to our Pride overlay, and back to
We've
this.
got a whole bunch.
Okay.
Whole bunch. So in the High Republic, there's a whole bunch of gay and LGBTQ. So we've got, in terms of characters, we got Vildar Mac, who's a gay Jedi. We've got Tesseract, who's he's I mentioned that he was a will guardian of the will, which
like
was
Jarrett
on
in phase. Yep.
Jeddah. Yes, like and then we have Comac Vitus, which I showed on the cover of the magazine of the comic. He's another Jedi. Comic Vitus, which is one of the main Jedi on the council. We've got Reith Silas, another Jedi on and he's Into the Dark, the Rising Storm, and Into the Rising Storm and Midnight Horizon, those novels. We've got Reith Silas, Sylvester Yarrow from Out of the Shadows. She's a lesbian. She dated Jordana Sparkburn. She's also a lesbian from Out of the Shadows. We've got Gira Staros. Gira Staros is another one. And we've got Zylan Graf, which I showed from the cover of the comics. So he's a boyfriend to the Santeca. And we've got the bonded twins, Tarek and Surette, which are non-binary, so they go by they them pronouns. So that was interesting because they were also they came out very early in the comics, and it was during the first year, phase 1 of the High Republic, and that was during the first June month Pride cover, and it was showing trans representation. And so when Tarek and Surette came out and using they them pronouns in the books and the comics, it was really good because it showed the they them pronouns were coming out also in public use, and it was being used a lot in the novel as well, and it was good representation because people didn't understand how to use it, but because they were twins,
Yeah.
it was easy to use it with Tarek and Surette because they were twins, so it was natural.
Right. So you're getting sort of the plural. Yeah.
Right.
It's a nice
they
gateway
them,
in.
right?
Yep.
Because they're twins, but you also use them individually. So whenever it was Surette or Tarek, you called them still they them because you thought of them as twins. But it
It's
was good to
interesting.
use them.
We use they them singularly all the time when we actually don't know the gender of someone. So if someone lost their wallet and you don't know
Correct.
who the wallet belonged to, you're
Yeah.
not going to say someone lost his or her wallet. Like that's just really clunky and like bad English.
Right.
It is grammatically correct to use there for an individual person, just full
Right.
stop. So if anyone is trying to say that like the queers are trying to change the language, one, language always evolves. So I'm going to not even fight you on that. But like truly they them is a singular pronoun, and it's for people who either you don't know the gender of,
Right.
or they're telling you that their gender identifier is a they them pronoun, not she her or he him, which is
Or
not
when
that
you don't know.
challenging.
Or when you
Like,
don't know.
yeah,
It's
when you
just
don't know, exactly.
polite. It's polite.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah.
big deal.
I know a lot of people have been like, can you believe there are pronouns in emails? And I was like, that's really helpful because if I see someone whose name is Chris and I write, hi, or so and so, and it turns out it's some lady named Christina, don't I look stupid? And doesn't she feel stupid for having to me? Like, why don't you just, it's just easier to know. Not that we use Mr. and Mrs. as much, but like when I was an intern, I would never address people by like their first name when I was new at the job. It was always Mr. Who now or whatever. Like it's, Mrs. So and so. Very
Right.
different
Right.
thing. But I'm glad that the they them pronouns are making their way in. I think we've largely been talking about sexual orientation, but gender identity is a whole other piece to this. And it's why I love the word queer, because it sort of sits above sexual orientation and gender identity. So you can be gender nonconforming or non-binary or transgender on one side, dealing under gender, and then on your orientation side, there's like gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, all of that, right? But it all filters under just being queer, which is why I love
Right.
it too. It's a nice catch-all.
Right, right. And another non-binary gender diverse character is Cantum Psy, which was the first Jedi that I showed in the cover. So he's a good one. He uses they them pronouns as well, and he's in Midnight Horizon in the High Republic as well. We also have
great. I didn't realize there were so many.
Oh, so many, so many. We have Keith Trennis, which was an important one because if you'll recall, in the hall of in the movies, we have the hall of the Lost 20, right? When Yoda's talking about in the library, the Lost 20, they have the busts of the Jedi that have left the Order, and Trennis is one of them. Trennis is one of the Lost 20 Jedi that left the Order. The first one is Trennis, and I believe it's Keeve Trennis. So she's the first one that left the Order, and we haven't found out why yet. But she's in the High Republic, and she's queer. She's queer coded, so we're not sure. We're not sure yet how, but she is queer coded, and we haven't found out when she's left the Order. But she's attracted to
Or
both
for
men
why.
and women. Or
Yeah.
right. But we'll
I
see.
can't because you're not supposed to have attachments, and then imagine being queer, and so maybe you join a religious order because like this
Well,
is gonna help sort out things, and then it makes
that's
it
the other
worse.
thing. The High Republic is very messy because you're not supposed to have attachments, but we find out in the in the High Republic that that doesn't mean you can't have sex. So they're having a lot
Yeah. Oh, I
of
heard that they are horny in the High
oh
Republic. It is
my
the horny
gosh.
Republic, from what I've heard it been called.
It's the
Yeah,
horny
that's
republic
wild.
for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Because they
Mhm.
even explain it, yeah, you can have sex, you just can't have attachments, like,
Oh,
you just can't get
first of
married. I'm
all,
like,
that sounds
"What?"
terrible. Don't sign me up for that. Um, like, yeah, I love how crazy Disney went. They were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're
I know.
we're just gonna make this like the gayest, most ridiculous nonsense, and also for the straight people. But
I
yeah,
know.
oh, it's
And then
amazing.
we also have Avar Chris, which I knew from the beginning, but then they kept saying, "No, they shut it down," but then I'm glad they brought it back up. So Avar Chris is, like, the most famous Jedi 'cause she's the purest puritanical one, right? So Avar Chris is probably the most famous one. She's that perfect Avar Chris, right? She's the blonde one, she's
Mhm.
beautiful. So at the beginning, originally, when I read about Avar Chris before she came out, she was supposed to be a transgender,
Oh, okay.
right? And when the initial artwork showed her, and she looked very transgender, right?
Mhm.
Well, I shouldn't even say that. I take it back because that was very transphobic of me to say that. They made her look more a little bit kind of masculine features
Okay.
with long
I knew what
hair,
you're
which
saying, though. Yeah,
right, that's what
I don't think
and
that
I
was
didn't
coming
mean it
from a
that
bad
way.
place, but I knew what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. And I thought, "Oh, good, they're showing somebody like that." But then they made her look very feminine looking, like, and made her uh, just a female character, and said, "No, no, she's not a transgender." But now they're saying she's a bi-coded female character,
Hmm.
which is like, okay, that's fine. But
Yeah.
she does have romantic
Also, it's
tensions with
Star Wars. We could
yes,
create a new gender, sexual orientation, anything. Like,
that's true.
yeah, like the spectrum of things we can do in this world of fantasy and science fiction. Like, by the way, why don't I have a robot husband? Which I guess Lando sort of was fooling around with that droid, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's
he
got to be a
was.
thing. Yeah.
So, and she does have attractions with Keith Trennis because
Okay.
they talk about that also in the High Republic novels and the comics, which
Mm.
is interesting. I'm like, oh wow, because she does have. I don't want to say because it's a spoiler, but I just won't say it. But she does have. I don't want to say it, but yes, the High
You're
Republic they
not
have a lot
spoiling
of
anyone here. Look, gay
okay
stuff happens. There we go.
stuff happens. There's Tyoric, who is great. So Tyoric leaves the order, right? Because things happen, and so she's being trained as a Padawan,
Mhm.
and she leaves the order and she becomes Tyoric. So she's kind of like she's the High Republic's equivalent of um oh my gosh, um everyone loves her. Um oh my gosh, my old timey brain is not working right now. Uh,
Good or bad?
uh, good.
Light side.
Ashlee from you
Oh,
guys
Ahsoka.
show. Ahsoka, yes.
Yeah.
She's High Republic's
Oh
Ahsoka.
boy, your
Yes.
brain isn't
I'm
working
no
if you forgot the
Jedi.
name
I'm
of
no Jedi.
Ahsoka.
I
Yeah, there you
know.
go.
My old timey brain. So she's the I'm no Jedi because she left the Jedi Order, so she's not a Jedi. So
Mhm.
she's able to do things that Jedi are not able to do, right? Because she's not a
Isn't that the
Jedi.
plan? I want all the magic and
Yes,
none of the responsibility. Like, sign me up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
I want to get
Tyoric.
trained at
She's
the temple
great.
and leave. Go to college and then not remain at that college. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's her. So she's very queer coded, and she's the monster of Temple
Mhm.
Peak, the Rising Storm, Trail of
Okay.
Shadows, all kinds of good stuff. And all of these Jedi come back in the final novel, which I just finished right now, the last one.
Mhm.
It's
What's it called?
the last novel is called shoot, I've got them all mixed up in my brain now. It's called Trial of the Jedi.
Mhm.
Trial of the Jedi, yes. And in the final novel, they all come back, and it's really good. And I thought it was going to be better because they brought them all back, and I thought it was going to be really good because they formed these two teams of like there were 18 Jedi at first. I'm like, oh wow, it's all 18 of them, but they really only focus on 9. So I was
Okay.
disappointed about that. But it
Hmm.
was good because
Still,
still
it's
got
like an
9.
Avengers team up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but I guess it was too much to talk about all 18 of them, right? It was too much. because it
I'm
was so
reading up
long.
on these as you're telling me because I'm like, oh, okay, this is great.
Oh,
This is
they're
great.
There's a
really
lot of
good,
characters.
really good.
There's so much in here.
It's a lot of characters.
I
And
gotta
then we
read
got
some books.
Saf Maligan, and a lot of these are mostly in the comics though. Saf Maligan, which is awesome because Saf Maligan's like she's queer coded too, but mainly in the comics. And she's an old one. She's kind of like Yoda too. She's an alien species, very old, and she's really cool because she's a lot in you know where Saf Maligan is? She's on that planet where Rey goes with Han Solo, Takudana,
Takadana.
and
Okay.
she's at
Oh, okay.
uh Maz's castle.
I was gonna say, is she hanging out with Maz? But that's awesome.
Yes, she does hang out with Maz, so she's there, so she knows Maz too.
Dang.
So Sava's there. She's queer coded, and then we have Orla Jareni, which is from the old time High Republic, and Orla's also queer coded, and she's from Into the Dark, Edge of Balance, Volume 2. So those are a lot of queer coded characters from the High Republic. So there are just so many characters, and I like it because they're all. I can't really call them gay characters because they don't have they can't be in relationships because of course in the Jedi Order they're not allowed to be in
Isn't that
relationships.
convenient? So,
Right. But they do the only thing is like Vildarmak and Taserek, because Vildarmak does leave the order, he does end up marrying Taserek. They don't marry, but they have a relationship. And Vildarmak does die because he's an alien species that doesn't live as long as Taserek, who's another alien species.
Oh.
And then Taserek is sad because his husband, they do get married actually, and then his husband has died. So they do end up getting married, but only because Vildarmak has left the order. But the other ones don't leave the order, and so they're not able to marry. But they do have strong feelings for uh, same sex. And then it's difficult because there's aliens.
yeah.
So then how does that work? If you're
Well,
an alien with a different alien, then it's not even like same sex. It's like alien with alien would be queer,
yeah.
right?
Well, in so in Last Jedi, everyone's favorite Star Wars movie, we have Laura Dern's character, Vice Admiral Holdo,
Hmm.
who is queer coded and has the purple hair and all that kind of stuff. We find out in one of
Absolutely.
the books that she has a long conversation with Princess Leia, and one of the things they're talking about is when they're younger, when they're like teenagers, because they go way back, they know each other, about
Hmm.
dating. And Leia very sort of is very stoic about like, oh yeah, I want to like date a man who's also a human. And Vice Admiral Holdo, I guess at the time just Holdo, is like, oh no, I want to date like men and women and aliens and this and whatever. Like the galaxy is like our buffet, basically. So
Hmm.
she's pansexual without
Right.
using those words within the realm of Star Wars. This is how we like expand the spectrum, right? Like I'm sure she
Right.
dated a droid and an alien and a woman and maybe a man and whatever else. And like certainly she knew how to take care of Poe Dameron. She saw him and was like, that little gay over there, I'm gonna punch him in the face. So she had none of his nonsense.
Right.
So I think like that
Pew.
kind of character is really cool, and you get that great backstory in the books if you continue to dig. So I think for us, like the lesson here is like below the surface is where you're going to find a lot of the best LGBTQ representation, not just what you see on screen, but like to Mike's point, all these books, all these comics, these fascinating stories, they're happening just outside of like the not the main canon, but just outside of like the biggest reach of most of the media. So if you're craved for LGBTQ representation in Star Wars, Michael hit you up with the books to read and the comics and everything. We got quite the list. But now it's finding its way into the mainstream portions of it as well, which is very
Mhm.
exciting.
Slowly
I
And
but surely.
the
oh,
last
go
thing
ahead.
is a lot of these are coded.
Yes.
So, and by that is it's not going to be like obvious telling you like, by the way, I'm gay. It's not going to say it like that. So,
Hmm.
like I told my colleagues, my buddies on the show,
Hmm.
oh, this looks gay to me. And they're like, no, it's not. You're making it up. You just want because they're always teasing me like, you just want to see that because you're gay. You want to see that and everything. Like, no, you guys,
It's like I'm
this,
good. There's plenty of other gay stuff I can watch.
yes. I tell
But
them,
I'm
no,
telling you,
trust
I
me.
can. Yeah, I can pull that thread. So I have two queer coded characters that I want to talk about actually as well, and they're in and they're in media, not books, the visual media. The first one is Crosshair. Can we talk about how Crosshair is like
Yes,
obviously gay? And what's funny is
yes.
like I saw many men cosplaying as Crosshair, straight guys, who love the armor and love the look and love the eye makeup and all this stuff, and they love how stoic and like very specific his cadences. And I was like, that queer, like I was like, oh, he's highly queer coded as a character.
I'm like,
Jafar over there, yeah.
she
Oh my
is
god.
so gay.
Oh my god, the gayest. And the kind of thing is like, obviously he doesn't have a boyfriend or anything because again, we're at the height of the war, and he's like he's damaged goods too.
Mhm.
Like Crosshair. Here's the thing: Crosshair would be a really fun like one night stand because he's crazy. But like I don't know if he's husband material. But like
And she's
yeah,
the bottom.
yeah, without a doubt. So she's a hot mess, and we love Crosshair. He's one of my favorites, but like it was funny to see so many men cosplaying as Crosshair, especially at like Celebration 27 when we were in London, and these men did not pick up on the fact that like I was like that character's gay. You guys like click in, yeah.
Yeah.
But he goes dark side, so it's okay.
Yeah. Tell us in the comments if you think Crosshair is a big old gay, because I do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. I also, coming back to my other main conspiracy theory, I think that Corky Kryze has a chance of being queer. Corky Kryze is not in a lot of episodes. This is the supposed son of one of the Kryze sisters. He has an aunt Satine and an aunt Bo-Katan, so I don't know where this missing parent is. We've sort of come to the conclusion based on our interview with Anna Graves that it is not the son of Satine, and he's probably not the son of Bo-Katan either. He's probably just one of the many random orphans in Star Wars who has aunts and uncles that care for him. But like he's been missing in action since the Clone Wars time period, and while he might be the rightful Mandalore, I also think he might also be a gay. He and Ahsoka were very close, but in a way that wasn't at all romantic. Like I think every girl who might be watching the show had that one guy best friend that they were like emotionally connected to and realized there wasn't a physical attraction there. And yeah, I think that Will and Grace thing was playing up right there in the Clone Wars.
Well, Ahsoka's another one that's coded.
Yes.
Because even in Ahsoka, the novelization,
Yeah.
in the book. Mhm.
There's some gay erasure there because she, even with the Martell sisters in Clone Wars season 7, like there was something there where I was like, they're holding back because Disney isn't letting her. And then even like, by the way, don't you think like Shin Hati would be the perfect girlfriend for Ahsoka?
Oh my God, yes.
Like, can we like? I don't want to ship these two non-queer characters just because they're both badass women, but like Shin Hati
there was
and
some
Ahsoka.
tension there. There was tension there. Absolutely.
Yeah. I see it. I see it for her. And even Sabine, you have to wonder, like, was always constantly like brushing away Ezra in a way that like was very like, is Ezra gay? Is Sabine gay? Is everyone gay? Like, I keep having these moments where I was like, what's wrong with these
Sabine
people?
was not into Ezra.
But I also think Ezra had a crush on Sabine and then eventually grows out of it in a way. He's like, oh, I'm a Jedi now. Am I gay now? Like, is he kind of gay? Is Ezra kind of gay? Like, he's my cosplay, by the way. So I think it would be really cool if like Ezra were gay. Oh my God, I almost forgot. We have to talk Colin. While we're talking about Ezra and everything, our very good friend Colin, who has co-hosted on Clone Wars Revisited with us, Colin Fisher, who did my Ezra cosplay for me. He like literally built this Ezra for me, which I love him so much for it. He'll be with us in Texas for Rebel Scum Con and for Boonta Eve. Mike, you're coming to Texas, right?
I can't. I'm blocked from traveling during that. Those are the 2 weeks that school's open, so I can't.
Son of a bitch.
I know. I wanted to go.
You're missing out.
Sad. I am.
It's going to be a blast.
That's the two of us, Mike.
I'm so sad.
I need to play. Colin sent in, and I wish I had this as a better audio. I'm literally going to hold this to my microphone. It's like 70 seconds, but him talking about LGBTQ representation in Star Wars this year. A reminder, he did my cosplay for me for Ezra that I wore to Rhode Island Comic Con, and he'll be in Texas as well. We're obviously going to meet Taylor Gray at Boonta Eve, which we're very excited about. So and he'll be back to co-host with us. So in Clone Wars Revisited, coming up in the next few months, numerous guest hosts are going to joining us. Sarah and JB are jumping in for a couple of episodes, and Colin is going to come back to do an episode, and we're jumping into the Mandalore arc very soon. So I know there are some other people from the network who wanted to pop in. So between me and Skip and Ashlee, we're all going to take some vacation days to make some room for like some of our friends to pop on and give ourselves a break as well. So all right, here is Colin Fisher from Corellia Cosplay on his thoughts on presentation of Star Wars this year.
Hello, WCN. I wish I could join you guys today to celebrate Pride, but unfortunately I couldn't be there, so I wanted to record this quick little statement and join you guys virtually if possible. So thanks, Mark, for letting me do this. You know, the obvious great thing is that we're starting to see a lot more of queer representation in Star Wars and across the Disney properties. I think that has a lot to do with Bob Iger, so I do appreciate his willingness to start including people that look and feel like us in their multiple universes. The fact that we got Belle and Cinta to actually have a full-on relationship this year, and got to see them as a couple instead of just two freedom fighters who deeply cared about each other, but frankly were kind of distracted with the mission, I think was a really step forward in the representation of the queer community in Star Wars. Right now, they're the ones that are holding down the fort, but I'm looking forward to getting some other queer representation with gay couples in the future. I feel like we're making strides in that direction every year, and I am actually really thankful that Disney's willing to do that. So, for the rest of you guys, happy Pride. It's been an interesting June for those of us in this community, but I know that we're going to continue to stay strong. And, you know, again, thanks for Disney for pushing those boundaries forward. I appreciate it. Thanks. We'll see you.
Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
He's flying today, so he couldn't join us.
Okay.
I know he's a pilot. You got to see him in his cosplay. Mike, he's so cute. You would love Colin. He's married too, by the way. Somehow, like all the gays are married on the network. It's one of those where, and one of us loves Star Wars, and the other one is like begrudgingly along for the ride. Isn't that like the yeah?
So
and his husband does not care about Star Wars whatsoever. I was like, oh, is he going to come to Texas too? And he's like, God, no. So I thought that was very
But
funny.
I love the support, though. I
Yes.
really do love the support.
The support's
between
good.
Serge and Jason and Colin. Like the support is there, and I love
Exactly.
it.
My
may not be
Jason's
able
my
to
personal
stomach it,
assistant. Yeah.
But he's there with the support, and that's all that matters.
I did want to do one more quick call out in the real world of LGBTQ representation in Star Wars. So not necessarily character, but Katie O'Brien, who obviously prominently featured in The Mandalorian, is a real life lesbian. Actually just got married. She was in Japan on her honeymoon when we essentially dragged her to our event, being like, yeah, sure, you're on your honeymoon, but come work. So only Spencer could make that happen, where he was like, we'd love to have you if you're in Japan. And she had a lovely time, apparently. I've met her numerous times. We got to interview her at the family vacation last year. She was at Rhode Island Comic-Con the year before that. She's just a lovely person, and she's having quite the career is taking off. Like, after being in Ant-Man, being in Star Wars, she was just in a movie with Kristen Stewart that did really well on the queer film circuit, and she is working. She was in Twisters. So this girl's everywhere, which is so exciting to see, because
she's gorgeous too. My God,
she's beautiful. I know.
Oh my God,
her wife is gorgeous too. They're both stunning. That's what's so fun. You see actors and actresses in real life, and you're like, oh, you're the hottest person I've ever seen in real life. And it's true, across the board. Even the voice actors. I met Kat Tabor the other day at the convention I went to, and I was like, she is stunning. So they're all even prettier and shinier than you think in person. But Katie is just lovely. Follow her on Instagram. Keep up with her adventures. She is really taking off. And frankly, 20 years ago, it might not have been a possibility to be an open lesbian actress working in a Disney property. And now she's a big part of the saga, and doing incredibly well in her career. It's not a problem to be out anymore. Arguably, Jonathan Bailey is having the best time of any actor right now, and he is proudly gay and out and doing his press for Jurassic World after the giant press tour for Wicked, and he'll be back for Wicked 2. This man's thriving. That didn't seem possible when we were kids, Mike. It's such a different world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just can't. It's unimaginable. I couldn't even imagine it. Yeah,
exactly. And I never thought I'd get married. I never thought I would. Well, I couldn't have imagined YouTube, but I never thought I'd be on TV, right? Or doing something like this, where you certainly wouldn't be able to do it if you were out. If you were hiding everything else about yourself, I guess you could be a closeted actor. There have been plenty of those for however long, but now people want to know about your personal life, and they're very supportive of Jonathan Bailey. Everyone's trying to become his husband. It's kind of wild, and all the women, everyone loves that he's making out with Scarlett Johansson on the red carpet. Those two are licking each other.
It was one kiss on the lips, and he's gay, and her husband was there. Calm
Yeah.
down, people.
I know. It cracks me up though because as a gay man myself and with not strong boundaries, like I kiss a lot of my friends all the time too. Like we're very touchy-feely, we're very affectionate. And so when Jonathan Bailey said kiss your friends, life is short, like I've felt
Yes.
that way for 20 years. But I also understand that like people don't like getting hugged, people don't like getting kissed, this and that, blah blah blah. But also that has shifted quite a bit. And he's like, yeah, Scarlett Johansson's one of my best friends. We did this incredible movie together. I'm going to kiss her. Like, why would people have a problem with that? I'm not trying to steal her from her husband, you know?
Right. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We can all
Yeah.
respect and love each other while not having a nefarious
Oh my
um,
god. There's always somebody gonna
motivation,
make it
right?
crazy.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
that's the world in which we live.
I
But yeah,
know.
very excited for Katie O'Brien, very excited for Jonathan Bailey. And also, one other big piece of media this year that was overwhelmingly queer was Agatha All Along. Like
Yeah.
we
Oh
got
yes.
more lesbian witches. It was the year of the lesbian witch. We got lesbian witches and we got Wiccan. Wiccan is in the MCU as a gay teenage kid, openly
Oh my
gay
gosh.
teenage kid,
Yes.
very gay. He is gay, like with a lot of several Y's, several many Y's. Um, and he's going to be back as Wiccan, a superhero with a bunch
I
of other young
know.
Avengers.
He's so
Yeah,
cool.
I
Love
love
it.
him. Yeah, I have a friend who
Yeah.
does like a grown kind of Wicca, and he's our age, so it's like Wiccan's dad. And it's sort of a male version of Scarlet Witch meets like a grown-up Wiccan kind of thing. It's very
Daddy
cool,
Wiccan.
and that's becoming, yeah, Daddy Wiccan. Between that and X-Men '97, I feel like just the queer representation has been really good in Marvel, just across the board, and Disney is getting there. Like it is for Star Wars and everything else. It's been really good.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
all
and
you
one
can.
more character I forgot to mention that I want to bring up is Vi Marati. I
Mhm.
love
Oh yes,
Vi
yes,
because
yes.
I'm always at Galaxy's Edge. You know, I live by Disneyland, so I'm there all the time, 2 or 3 times a week. And so every time I'm there, I find Vi, and I love hanging out with her. And she's my
Mhm.
favorite gay representation there. And so shout out to Vi. Dizzy's had her there from the beginning, and so she's always there for the gays. Love her.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
she's fantastic. All right, we are going to close out the show because we've been on for about an hour and a half. And oh man, did we have
Yeah.
enough content to get
We
us
did.
through? I remember when we did this 2 years ago, we were scraping, and I joke about like, do you remember the pig and the chicken? That's where we were for
Oh yes, the pig and the
resistance,
chicken.
right? That was our queer
We
representation.
didn't even
I was
discuss
like, the
that
pig
this
and the
time
chicken.
around.
And I love the pig and the
No,
chicken.
we've gone so far. Yeah, we all did, right? And like Bobby Moynihan was the voice of the pig. Like I love Bobby Moynihan. Like I
Yeah.
honestly I could hug him until the end of time. He's the most wonderful person. That representation was great, but it was also a pig and a chicken, which is very queer for Star Wars, but like love it. Now we have actual real life human gay people, mostly lesbians, but also some men and stuff. So look, I think
With
we're in
real
good
body parts.
momentum. Yeah. That's crazy. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We want to do a couple of announcements real quick to remind everyone what's coming up on the network and some of our big events that's happening later this summer. You heard us talk about it a little bit. Rebel Scum Con is happening in Frisco, Texas, August 8th through the 10th. Get your tickets at rebelscumconventions.com. It's going to be such a blast. Numerous members of the VCN will be there. And of course, the first night of the show, Friday, August 8th, we have our Bunta Eve special edition in Texas where we have our own guest list of people attending, including Diana Lee and Sonato,
Inosanto.
Ashlee, and Sarah. Yep, interviewed on Inosanto. What did I say? Yeah, did I say it wrong? I always say it wrong.
It's
Diana
okay.
Lee Inosanto. Yeah,
Yep.
she's amazing, and we just interviewed her on
Love
Daughters
her.
of the Galaxy. Ashlee, you and Sarah did such an incredible job. She
Thank
was
you.
fantastic as a guest. So go
She
watch
was
that
so fun.
episode of Daughters. And of course, you can meet her at Bunta Eve, along with lots of other people like Taylor Gray, who I'm very excited to wear my Ezra cosplay and get a photo with Taylor Gray. He's going to think I'm such a loon. Like, I literally email this man being like, how are you? He's wonderful. So it was great to like book him for the show. And Anna Graves will be there. Numerous other people, several Boba Fetts. It's going to be a fantastic time.
I'm
Tickets
gonna
are still
live
available, though the
vicariously
VIP is
through
sold
all
out.
of you.
There's gonna be like 13
While you're in
talent
Boston.
there.
Yeah.
I
Oh
know,
my
it's going to be
gosh.
unreal. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors for making this happen, VIP Home Theaters. They have really fantastic consumer products for your home theater, including speakers and tech equipment, televisions, chairs, you name it. You can visit their website to check out their whole product assortment. And of course, they also host events if you're in the Chicago area. I am dying to go to their showroom in Chicago to do a viewing or something, because I got to meet the owners when we did our initial Zoom with them about the sponsorship, and they are just lovely. So
Oh, sweet.
get out there to Chicago. And then all of us lucky to have everyone here on this list helping us put on Boone. Eve, thank you so much for your support. We could not do this without you. As you guys know, we are a volunteer organization. We are not professional YouTubers, as proven the clunkiness of which we move through all of our graphics. We are like, push the buttons. So, but we love this. We love doing this. We love hanging out with all of you. Thank you, everyone, for supporting not just the three queers you see on TV right here, but all of our shows throughout the year, all of our many programs. We've got Clone Wars Revisited running every Monday. We've got Daughters of the Galaxy on alternating Wednesdays, the Nerf Herders on the other Wednesdays, our Thursday Night Watch Along, which we're doing a lot of summer spoofs. We just did the Phineas and Ferb one last Thursday, which was such a blast. We're going to be doing more of that stuff during the rest of the summer, and we're going to be getting ready for like Lego and all the other new content that's coming. And then Sundays, Mike, remind everyone when Jedi Archives comes on.
Jedi Archives, first and third Sundays of the month, and alternating that on second and fourth Sundays of the month, we've got the Revisited. What is it? With Kat and Geo.
Unifying Force.
Unifying Force. And yeah. So thanks for joining us. We love sharing Star Wars with you. And happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah, happy Pride,
yes,
everybody.
Happy Pride. Have a fantastic rest of your summer. We will see you guys next week. Ashlee and I will see you tomorrow on Clone Wars.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
And we'll see Mike next week.
May the force be with you.
Have a fantastic Pride. And for light and life. And as always, long live the Republic.
We are all the Republic.
Yes.
Bye, guys.